What is up everybody, Justin Units here, and today we're going to make a very simple video on shooting portraits in natural light. I've got my good friend Nick Roseni coming into the studio to help me. He's going to be my subject. Alright, so here, it's going to be pretty noisy out here, but we're outside of the studio, and what we're looking for is areas of shade. So right now we're standing in the shade of the building. As you can see over here, that's all the direct sunlight which is completely blowing out, but where I am, the light's completely flat and completely even. So that's a great place to start. The area is called open shade, generally, which is shade which is in the area of the building. It could be a tree, anything that the sun is in between the subject and the building should be a really great place to start. So we're going to start taking some pictures of Nick, and I'll show you what those look like as we're going along. Okay, so right now I'm shooting on my Canon 6D Mark I and a very old 50mm 1.4. I pretty much keep it on 2.2. That's kind of the f-stop that I like to shoot at. And sort of get your other settings to get a good exposure in that. So obviously ISO 100 as close to as possible. Sometimes I push it up to 200. Shutter speed right now, I'm going to set it to 1/60th of a second. And a good trick to do, let's see if we can see that, is use the live view to get your exposure right. So there you can see it's too dark. As I'm rolling down the shutter speed to around 200, we get a nice, we can see that our exposure is right. We don't need to use a light meter. It already looks good straight at the camera. Switch it back, gonna look through the viewfinder, take some shots. If we look on this side, that lovely gentleman is standing. You can see that's all blown out, but that is actually our reflector. Okay, so obviously when I look for an area where there's not so many people, it's a bit difficult to shoot, but you know, when you're shooting on the streets, it is what it is. So we're going to look for an area that has a little bit of an overhang, so we can place our subject not directly into the open shade, so he has something covering his head, and that's going to add a lot more contrast. It's actually going to add direction to the light. So let's see what that looks like. So we're at our next location, and as you can see behind me, we've got this little garage area. I'm going to place Nick in that little opening, and we're still in the shade. We're not in direct sunlight. As we look down the road, you can see that the sun is coming down from up here, hitting the building, and it's pushing all this light back in. Now the only difference between this shot and the previous shot is that there is going to be no light coming from above Nick's head. So what that does is that all the light is going to be completely directional, and it's going to be a little bit more contrasty, a little bit more punchy, but just that much better. Sometimes with the in the open shade, it creates a little bit of shadowing under the eyes, which is not super flattering. So let's go ahead and take some pictures and not get knocked over while the cars are coming out. So Nick is going to stand in the building, just sort of under the shade. That's pretty good. So we can see that the lights on Nick's face is really good. I may have to increase my ISO. I'm going to take a few shots, see what happens. Alrighty, so we're going to do one more variation where we've shot completely in open shade. I would like to show you what the direct sunlight looks like, why it's super unflattering, and what you can do to make it work if that's your only option. Okay, so this is direct sunlight. It is winter here in Cape Town, so it's not as hot as it would be in summer. I mean, it's about 11 in the morning. So what's happening is you can see that this side, the light's hitting me directly in the face, and the light is super hot, unflattering, the harsh shadows under the eyes, and obviously we have shade on this side, which is not super flattering if you want to take sort of portraits of people, brides, headshots, or whatever it is. It can work for fashion, which is a little bit more interesting, and you have a little bit more latitude to play around with harsh shadows and harsh light. Let's take some photos of this and see how we could make it work. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to place Nick in the direct sunlight. The light is not super flattering, but if this is your only option, the one thing that you can do is turn the nose of the subject directly into the lights. If they have sunglasses on, this would be a good time to put them on. But basically it would look like that, which isn't necessarily unpleasing, but you can see the harsh shadows under the eyes, and the only way to get rid of those would be to turn the face up to the lights, but which doesn't make for a great portrait because obviously the eyes are closed. The other option would be to turn their backs completely towards the sun, and then what you would do, you would look for something that's really light and bright and that can push some light back into our face. So right now I'm a little bit too dark, but I can see over there is a white car, and let's see if we can use that as a natural light reflector to be able to backlight our subjects, which could be a really great fix. As you can see now, although the sun is coming from directly behind us, the reflection from the car, which is amazing because it's pure white, is kicking all this light back into Nick's face, which gives us that same sort of open shade effect without having any shade. So look for natural light reflectors in the environment that could help you to fill in if you don't have a reflector, which are often don't carry a reflector. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the section below. I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't subscribed, please do, and we'll see you in the next video.